Live from Las Vegas, Nevada. You're watching Shaking It Up with the Sharks. Starring Johnny Richardson and Katie Meadows.
Welcome back to Shaking It Up with the Sharks. This is going to be an amazing show, folks. We brought in one of my best buds here in the Turnberry, rocking and rolling. He is amazing. Nick, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you, brother. Let's rock and roll.
I'm loving it, definitely.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, one of the things I heard, and it was when you're on stage at Monday's Dark, it was just probably, 4 or 5 months ago, and I realized I like this guy, and I didn't know why, but you're a Jersey guy.
Yeah.
You moved out here from New Jersey.
Yeah, most of my life I spent in New Jersey, and I think one of the greatest things that you can do is move out of your home place.
Oh, 100%.
So if you're listening and you're still in your home place and you want some growth, go to a new city. You only have one life, but most importantly, you get to experience new things. But I spent 19 years of my life in Jersey.
Holy smokes. So when was it you moved out here to Vegas?
Yeah, so I moved from New Jersey. I moved to Tampa. We can get into the nitty gritty, but I moved to Tampa and I spent a few years in Tampa. And then because of the speaking picked up, I was on the road about 80% of the year, and I was like, I'm going to come to Vegas so I don't have to travel as much. And then I moved to Vegas, and they shut everything down, and then we pivoted. So we can get into all that stuff. But
all that good stuff. I'll tell you what I noticed growing up in Jersey. Great place, great time. My mom had a vision. She's like, I'm going to move you out to the country. Mm-hmm. I was born in this city. It was absolutely crazy. Gangs, this and that, people getting beat up, and I couldn't stand it. Just as a teenager, I was like, I want to be in the city. I ended up in Philadelphia, I ended up Atlantic City, and then out here in Vegas in 2012. But after being around these cities, I think you probably experienced the same thing going to Tampa, to Vegas, was being in Jersey, great, can have a great living, but that's what it's going to be. There really is no influence as far as go higher, do something bigger, build something. A lot of what I experience is day-to-day life, get a job, work for a casino, car dealership, whatever. It's only this far, am I correct?
Yeah, I agree. And when I look back on it, in the most polite way, not many people are doing anything, And I think especially because I came from Toms River and Bayville. I grew up in Bayville. These are small towns where the goal is to, it's very in a box, right? You go to high school, then you pick your college, or maybe you go to your local community college and you graduate, then you work at the local place and you stay there, and then you buy a house there, and then it's the same old cycle, and there's really no growth. And so I think for the ones that did get out, like you and I, that there was a lot of growth because we were able to experience more.
No, 100%, definitely. I noticed people in Jersey growing up and also looking back now, it seems like when people hit 40, 45, that's it. This is the end of the road. There's really not much happening. They're going to have some kids and whatever else, get drunk at the bar on the weekends, milk off their hangover Sunday and Monday, and do it all over again. Yeah,
I think that goes to show that average is all around you.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's really easy to get pulled back in average. There's an analogy that one of my buddies have, and this is funny because of the way that I look, but in life, you're basically running with your hands out, right? And if you got a short arm, you throw your short arm out, but you're running with your hands out, and you have a majority of your relationships that are pulling you in the right direction, and you have a majority of your relationships that are pulling you back. And so that's when people really need to evaluate their circle and say, how many people in my life are actually elevating me? How many people in my life are actually bringing me down? And the truth is, if you haven't done work and evaluated your circle, about 80% of your relationships are probably pulling you back.
That was my next question. So it's an 80-20. So
I think so. Depends
don't want
on
you to win.
Yeah, depends on your how much are you evaluating. But most of the time, let's be honest, if you grew up in a town and you went to high school and you have those same buddies and those same high school friends, you can look at them and the majority of them are probably doing the same stuff, right? And the only reason why I'm as established or successful, whatever you want to call it, is because I continuously look to be in higher rooms, right? I never want to be the richest. I never want to be the smartest in the room. And I've literally condensed decades into years because I get to learn from people like you. I get to learn from people like Tony Robbins. I get to learn from people like Ed Milet, someone who already has 30, 40 years of experience, and they can guide me in the right direction. Also, we were talking about and this was a breakthrough for me just a couple of days ago, you've heard the term your network is your net worth, right?
100%.
And you can understand that, like, oh, I get to surround myself with higher level people. But then when you really get into wealthy rooms, it goes deeper in the sense of that you're not only surrounding yourself with these people, but like wealthy people get a bunch of friends that are really wealthy and really reliable, and all they do is invest in their stuff.
Yeah,
right?
into each other.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they know they're reliable at the end of the day, 100%.
Exactly. And so that's, for example, like a fund. There's a difference between the fund and a syndication. The syndication is you're investing in one address, correct?
Yeah.
Right? So you're investing in one thing, so you can evaluate that and see if it's a good deal. A fund would be you're investing in the people.
Correct.
Right? And so if you have a network of solid people who know how to make money and they just call you, I'd call you, I'm like, Johnny, hey, we're doing this. Like, you got 50K, you got 100K, you're just like, I'm in, because you know that those people are solid. But going back, like, evaluate your circle, because the majority of the times, I bet you, out of 100%, over 50 is probably pulling you back.
No, that makes sense. So when you think about failed businesses out there, you'll hear it, somebody's like, I went ahead, I tried that already. Well, who'd you go into business with? Well, it was my best friend from high school. It had nothing to do with the product. The product was probably a great product, but any product out there, whether it's investing or you name it, if the driver is bad or any of those partners are bad, it's no longer a good product at the end of the day. So you go ahead and you go into an investment with like-minded people. The people are what's selling it at the end of the day. They're providing that structure. They're reliable. You can count on them. When they make a promise and a commitment, it's coming through at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I think there's 2 steps to wealth building. The first step is figuring out how to make wealth, or how to make some money, right? And the way that I look at money is value. And the more value that I can provide, and if I can over deliver, the money's going to come. If I can over deliver for you, it's going to be reciprocated with money, right? But the second part about wealth building is like, where do you put the money once you make it? And you probably experienced that, right? Like at first, like your goal was to like make a certain amount, 100K, $1 million, and then you have $250,000 or $1 million in your account. You're like, what do I do with this? And especially during this time where inflation and all this stuff is going, it's like cash is just trash. You know, it's like, so I want to make sure that my money is working for me. And so when I started entrepreneurship or business, I said, like, when I become a millionaire, I have a few million in the bank, I want at least 10 people in my phone that I can call and say, what do I do with this?
Yeah, 100%.
You know, because I don't need to take the time, or I don't have the time to learn the nitty gritty of investing. Like, I don't need to be an expert in investing. I need to know experts in investing.
Yeah.
Right? And so if I'm focused on my core business, which is speaking and consulting and working with entrepreneurs, like I may not necessarily have the time to focus on real estate. That's why I would go to you and say, is there a syndication or is there a fund, right? So you don't stay in your lane with your strength and your passion and what you're doing, and then find people that you can invest in that have already became experts. That's why when we met that one time in the gym, and I was like, hey, there's just an idea, like in real estate, you have so many people that you've led and made an impact on, and you built so many relationships, you can come together and bring those relationships together and create some sort of shark mastermind, right, where there's qualifications, but what we're doing is we're really just leveraging networks, right? So you and I, we would pay to be in a room, whether that's 20, 30, 40 grand, we would pay to be in that room because we know all the deals,
yeah, 100%.
Right? So by the way, wink, wink, when he comes out with his mastermind,
yes.
Right? This is something that you should probably do, because he's going to bring a bunch of people into a room that do real estate, that do investments, that do syndications, and now it's just like, let's plug and play, and where should I put my money?
Exactly, and you're surrounded by those people that everybody is looking for at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You know, people talk constantly, well, I don't know the right person, I don't know how to get in those rooms. Those rooms are available 100% at the end of the day.
Yeah, and that going back to, like you said, like starting a business, and maybe you started a business with a friend, like at the end of the day, like if your business isn't succeeding, like whose fault is it? Yeah. It's ours. But most people don't want to take accountability because it hits their ego or it brings them down. Like at the end of the day,
want to blame everybody
even
else.
if it's not my fault, it's my fault.
Yeah.
Right? That's the mentality you should have. Like regardless of if it's not my fault and I didn't do it, I'm still going to take ownership, because that's what leaders do. That's how we're going to move forward. But it's, it's easy to say, oh, it was Johnny's fault.
Oh yeah, that's
easy.
It's
you know what I'm saying?
Route,
yeah, because then you're not taking ownership.
Yeah, I'd have been
bullshit.
perfect, but this guy Sam, he stole money overnight, blah blah blah. At the end of the day, no, 100%. You hear it all the time. Majority of the time, you hear it. Yeah, definitely. But when there's the success, nobody's blaming it on somebody else. Like, that was all me.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Now you want to take ownership.
Yeah. Now I'm accountable because it did great.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, definitely. So that's really funny stuff. Everybody wants to point that out when it's bad. I pick up on that all the time, constantly.
Yeah, and I felt like, I don't know about you, but growing up, and in the most polite way, like my parents weren't entrepreneurs. Like I don't think that I was really exposed to entrepreneurship. My parents have great jobs, but like I said, like they don't start their own businesses. And so I don't know if you were exposed to it growing up, but I wasn't. And it wasn't until I moved out of New Jersey and I moved to Tampa. I actually moved to Tampa because there was a specific person that reached out to me through Instagram, was like, hey, I love what you do. Come check out Tampa. I went there. I was like, oh my God, the weather's great all year round. Like, what am I doing? And at the time I was pursuing bodybuilding, so I wanted to shift my environment. So there was actually two things. There wasn't a bodybuilding environment, at least what I think, in Jersey, and there wasn't business. And so when this guy was like, there's bodybuilding here, and I'm an entrepreneur, I went there, right? And I think because that I moved, I got rubbed the right way with entrepreneurs. Like it rubbed off on me.
In Tampa?
Yeah.
That was your first real experience with it?
Yeah.
Who was that person to really deliver that first experience?
His name is Chris Cavallini.
Okay.
Yeah, he still does his stuff. He's based out of Tampa. And at the time, like he was a great mentor, and that was the first time that I was exposed to reading books. That was the first time that I was exposed to writing goals. Like I wasn't exposed to any of that stuff, and so I give a lot of my foundation and my credit to him as someone who exposed me to these things. So for example, like my first books that he gave me was like 10X and Be Obsessed or Be Average.
Well, that was a great one to
they're both great books.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? But also I want to touch on too is like, first thing is like we want to find people who have the results, who have the life that we want, so we can learn from them. Make sure like the person that's coaching you is real and they're actually doing what they say. Exactly.
Yeah.
But the second thing that I think would be very powerful, which happened to me, is like you have to get very clear on what your definition of success is. Because say I was new in entrepreneurship and you started mentoring me, and not like in a bad way, but like your definition of success came on to me, and I start shooting for what I think success is, but then I feel out of alignment.
Yeah,
right? Does that make sense?
Somebody's just like they're doing it. Sounds good, so I'll just copy his.
Yeah, right.
Just copying somebody's goal.
Yeah, exactly. What success is. So, for example, like I met entrepreneurs where their definition of entrepreneurship and success is like no distractions, work 24/7, grind, and like that's not really my definition of success. I don't know about you. I'm not trying to work 24/7. Yeah. I'm trying to work smart. I'm still going to work hard. And so I think for those that are listening and watching is like, when you're starting off, or even if you're established, is getting more clear on what success looks like for you. You know, for example, for me, it's like, I want to be able to travel. I want to be able to retire my parents. I want to be able to live in a house, but be everywhere. Like I don't need to be tied to
retiring your parents.
9, 10, 12 months.
Okay.
So that's my goal.
The reason why I ask that is most people watching, they don't know that 9, 10, or 12 months.
Yeah.
They're like, hey, I'm going to do this. I'm going to help mom out. When?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'll get it done. Might be on her deathbed, but I guess it'll happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most people don't put that number in place, and that's, I'm sure, starting from that mentor and many others, it said, hey, have a goal and also have a timeline at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree. You're right. People aren't clear enough.
Yeah.
And the reason why clarity is so important is, first, clarity is power. So, like, for example, an analogy, if I said, if you weren't used to working out and drinking water, and I said, Johnny, drink that gallon of water, you'd be like, wow, that's a lot of water. Like, I'm not used to that, right? So that's the analogy when you make a big goal. But if I said, Johnny, you only need to drink like 5 water bottles, your brain will go, oh, I could probably drink 5 water bottles, right? So that's the same thing with your goals, is like set lofty goals or set big goals, but also break them down. It's like, what do I need to do this week? What do I need to do this month? But also when you're extremely clear, you're actually conditioning a part of your brain called the RAS, the reticular activating system, and this is like the filter that you see life through. So this is why, like, if we wanted a specific car, we'd be on the highway and your brain would just look and be like, oh, there's my car. Or like if the women wanted a specific bathing suit or a dress, they finally get it and they see other women with it.
Your mind opens up to it at that point after you pinpoints it. Just like constantly, no matter what it is. Have you heard about this? Never heard about it.
Yeah.
Once you hear about it, it's all over the place. yeah, you've opened up, and now you know about it.
Exactly.
Because we get stuck in that tunnel vision constantly. We're in our path, going. And if somebody doesn't point out certain things, happens with every business you're in. Just like with people out there looking for clients, I feel like clients, no matter what your product is, are all over the place.
Yeah.
You're just not asking the right questions or approaching the right people.
Yeah, and I think too on the flip side is like, if you're focused and you're very clear on all the things that you don't want, they're going to show up in your life as well, because that's what you're focused on. And if we're focused on the wrong things, you're going to miss the opportunity that's over here, because I was busy focused on what's wrong in my life.
Yeah, 100%,
you know
definitely. So that first mentor you're with, are you still super close with them?
We still stay in touch, but like, people grow. And so, but like I said, like, you gotta give credit when it's due, you know, and that was the foundation to my journey of why I even started it, you know, and so you pay dues where dues are supposed to be paid.
It makes sense. Yeah. There was somebody that I worked with many years ago, and he was doing astronomical, looked up to him and learned quite a bit from him, and he said to me at one point, we were on a call, and he said, Johnny, you have to understand when it's time to upgrade your mentors. And I never forgot that. Because we have feelings, and we're good people, and we're solid people, and we like friendships, and we cherish them. Yeah. But at the same time, we have to remember ourselves, the most important relationship, and also as a disservice to the other person as well. Yeah. So, and say, okay, it's time to step up and step up. So I was curious about that. Yeah,
I love that. Yeah, so always trying to elevate, but sometimes you need to get a mentor that's even more specific in what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right? Because we can have wealth mentors, or we can have psychology or mindset mentors, but if you're focused on digital marketing, it might be good to learn from someone who does digital marketing.
Yeah.
But I like the thing of upgrading your mentors. And really for those that are trying to like seek mentorship or get in proximity, it's like, find ways to provide value. I think we can agree that oftentimes in this world, everything's like take. That's why people lose. They're just like, what can I take out of this relationship? What can I take out of this, you know, this person? And rather than saying like, what can I do for you? And that's what I've learned, like a small pattern in the most successful people is they're always asking like, what can I do? What can I do? And that's just leveraging the law of reciprocity. If I do something for Johnny, he's going to be compelled to do something for me. Now, I'm not going to expect it. I'm going to give with no expectations.
You can't, 'cause that ruins it at that point.
Exactly.
And there's a lot of people like that. They're like, hey, you know, it looks like you need this. I'm going to help you with this. And then you get a call 2 days later. Remember I helped you?
Yeah.
Well, I need a favor.
Yeah, I hate that.
It's like, I mean, is that why you did it? Like, you might as well call it out. Just say in the beginning, I'm going to give this to you, but I expect this back. I have more respect. 100%. Yeah, big difference at the end of the day. But yeah, providing value 100% and a great experience for somebody. One of the things that kills me is there's times we are working with a client and I'm like, the experience could have been better. Like, how do we make that better the next time around? Because people will remember, as cliche as it sounds, forget about what you said, forget about what you did, but they seriously do remember how they felt. You leave everybody with a feeling of that experience that they went through. So that's absolutely huge. So if you just provide great experiences at the end of the day, and you know what makes that person tick, you know what makes them happy, excited, and you enjoy those things with them, I mean, nothing's really a problem at the end of the day. You're always going to have a constant flow of people, friends to do bigger and better things with. That's my opinion. Yeah,
I love that. I think that's spot on, because for those that may be listening, you're like, well, what am I doing wrong? That's a rough question to ask. You can say, what can I do right, or what can I do better? But instead of focusing on the dollar sign above people's head, how about you actually care about them? You know, it's like, if you're wondering why I can't close deals or I can't close clients, it's like, well, what are you really focused on? Am I focused on creating an amazing experience and identifying their pain and how I can solve it, or am I just trying to get the check? Right? And I think
people smell it out.
But I think, shoot, like in my career, maybe earlier in your career, or like it was about dollars. You know, it's like, how do I make money?
There's panic moments, of course.
Yeah. But even when you're starting, you're just like, how do I make money? And then you realize, like, one, like money doesn't make me feel any different. But two, it's like if I focus on the experience and over delivering, like the money comes. And that's when we were talking about money is just value. If I can provide value, the money's going to come. Yeah.
If you have faith in doing the right thing on a regular basis. Now, there are certain things to where if you're just praying every day, no offense, but I mean, you have to put the work in and everything else at the end of the day.
Yeah, I agree.
No, you definitely do. So tell me about Florida. You had the mentor, you were going down there to bodybuild. How'd the bodybuilding go?
Yeah. So when I moved to Tampa, I committed to like a 12-week preparation. I was going to do a show.
I saw the pictures.
Yeah.
They're absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
They
Yeah.
definitely were.
I did that show. I took third, which was super cool. And there's a big power in like putting what you're going to say on the internet. So if I say I'm going to do a show, like I better do the show and not look like shit, you know?
Yeah, right.
Like I better follow through. But the Tampa, when I moved to Tampa, actually 2 weeks into moving to Tampa, I was in a room like this, and it was a small mastermind. It was like 8 people, and they were like,
"What's your?" You calling this a small room?
Yeah, well, this is a great room. Yeah. That was a great room, and I was with like 8 people, and they were like, "What's your story?" And I shared my story, and there was a guy on the couch, and he's like, "You're going to be on stage with Tony Robbins one day." And I was a 21-year-old kid, and I was like, "Who's Tony Robbins?" I didn't know who Tony Robbins was, and I started talking to this guy, and I was like, "I don't know you, and we got to build a relationship." And he's like, "I feel compelled to help you. He was doing real estate at the time too, and he's like, "I'll work for you for free. If you like the work we do, maybe we'll start a company one day." And fast forward 4 years later,
promoting you, marketing.
Well, yeah. So we started. We were still working our day jobs. And then about a few months in, like he was like, "Yo, we need to go all in. Like, let's quit our jobs." And we quit our jobs. We started studying the speaking industry. One of the first things, this is funny, one of the first things we did was, and this was brilliant on his end, was like, we wanted to get on stage with like Gary Vee, you know? And so he's like, instead of trying to find these events, he went to Gary's website and saw his speaking schedule, found the promoters, and just hit up all the people that Gary was speaking at because they already were throwing events.
And that was really smart.
Yeah. And
definitely.
so I remember he was in the office, and no joke, like he had like a bunch of numbers and people to call, and everybody said no. I was coming up, like no one really knew who I was, and he had like one more, and he's like, "I'm just gonna call this," and he called, and they booked me. And it was the first time we were freaking out because of the first time they didn't pay me a speaking fee, but they paid for our travel and hotel. And we were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!"
When you were starting out and he called to promote you, what was the line? What was the pitch? What did he use to get you up there?
Yeah. So what's special about Ratmir is like he saw the gift in me before I saw it in myself. But like from that moment, he was a visionary, so he saw like massive growth, massive value, massive impact. He loved my story. He's like, the story needs to be in front of everyone, and that was the real key. It's like, he was sold on me. And when you get people that are sold on you and your vision, like that's certainty. And like whoever's more certain is like gonna get the close, or gonna get the yes, or gonna get the numbers. And so Ratmir has been sold on me even before I was who I was, you know, which is the beautiful thing. And so I think it's having someone in your corner that aligns with your mission, but truly believes like, even though I wasn't the best in the world, Ratmir is like, he's the best in the world.
That's awesome. You know? So would you say he believed in you before you?
For sure.
Before you believed in yourself.
For sure.
Like he saw it. He's like, "I don't care what you say, Nick.
Yeah.
Your butt is getting up there, and you're gonna start shaking that thing."
Yeah. For sure. And that was how like I started getting into speaking, was like we would just throw me on stage, and I don't know what I was talking about.
So what direction were you nervous at that point? When
For
you got
sure.
Up there? How did you control it when you went up there and you went nervous? What angle did you go to kind of conquer? Because you're a funny guy.
Yeah.
You are. Did you get up there and kind of get goofy to kind of get over it? Or did you go a different direction? How'd you overcome that? Because speaking up on stage, next to dying, people would actually, they say die before getting up on stage.
That's wild.
Is that crazy?
That is wild.
It's absolutely nuts. It blows my mind.
Yeah.
Because everybody's so fearful of it, to get up there and get over it. Like, what's going through your head?
Yeah, it's a great question, because there's probably a lot of people in here, whether you're speaking on big stage, but you probably lead people.
Yeah.
And you need to speak if you're going to lead people. So the first thing that I would say is, if you're nervous and like freaking out about getting on stage, like oftentimes you're focused on the wrong thing. So people will, you'll say like, "Why won't you speak?" And they'll be like, "Well, what if I mess up? Or what if I stutter? Or what if I don't look good?" Already you're losing because you're focused on yourself and not the crowd.
Yeah.
So the key is, if like you're focused on serving and just sharing and hoping that something hits, like now you're focused on them and you're not focused on yourself. So regardless of if your hair doesn't look good or you stutter, like it doesn't really matter, because you're focused on the people.
Yeah.
But I think the second thing is that excitement or that nervousness, most people don't lean into. They run from it, right? And so in my life, like I've created that as an anchor or a reminder. Like if I feel like fear coming, or I feel like kind of nervous, I have to now.
Yeah,
like my
it's
brain
a
just,
challenge.
yeah, exactly.
Because you love to be challenged.
Yeah,
I
yeah. Well,
watch
that's how we're
everything
gonna
you
grow,
do.
right?
Yeah, 100%.
But you can ask yourself, like, in the moments when you're feeling nervous or scared, like, do you run or do you lean in? And if you probably look back at the moments in your life, you probably ran or you probably went the other way. And when you go the other way, you don't grow and you don't get what you want. And like, you know,
it feels worse when you run away. It does, because you never complete it, you never faced it. That's in the back of your head forever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, even if it doesn't go great, at least you faced it.
Exactly.
Right? So now we're building the muscle of just facing things.
Anybody could say whatever and make fun of you. We'll get up there. You try the same thing and most people won't.
Yeah. That's pretty interesting too, because when it comes to business and entrepreneurship, like, we'll start a business and whether it's our family or our friends or someone would, like, they'll talk down or it's not going to work. And it's like, these are people that are sitting on the sideline of business or the sideline of entrepreneurship. They don't even have the jersey on, and you're in the trenches. You're in the game. Excuse my language. I'd much rather be in the game with the jersey on, grinding and falling on my face and experiencing things rather than being that guy on the sideline, like,
Eating
making
the
fun of,
Doritos
right?
and drinking beers.
Exactly. I like it.
No, exactly.
Right?
100% right. And then, as most people always make a joke when I'm giving information out there, I'm like, listen, you probably don't need to know. You already heard from your cousin sleeping on the couch, eating Tosquitos, and he knows it all. He works at Baskin Robbins or something.
Yeah, he knows a ton about business.
Yeah, exactly. So don't listen to me. Yeah, but that people are getting information from the wrong people most of the time, unfortunately.
Agreed. Yeah.
Like, they go home and they may listen to somebody like yourself, like, oh, I heard this amazing video. I was watching Nick. I'm going to do this. And they're sitting at the kitchen table with XXX and, like, you're never going to be able to do that. You can't do that.
It's fake.
Yeah.
They got lucky.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Can't believe what you see on TV or Facebook or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
And you'll notice that those people will be in the same cycles of their whole entire life.
Yeah.
Of it's because of this or it's because of that. We were talking about beliefs. Like, today I had the opportunity to meet Mike Tyson. And one of the things that
I did see that.
Yeah, one of the things.
That experience?
Yeah, it was great. One of the things that he said that I wrote down, which I made a post on, was that he said, God didn't create anyone that could beat me. And what's interesting is, like, one of the greatest boxer of all time, right? The reason why he's that way is because that was his belief, right? And the truth is that, like, you and I, we have specific beliefs. So some of our beliefs could be like, we always find a way. We're always going to win. We're always going to over-deliver. But the truth is, when you look around, most people have beliefs of, it never works out for me.
Yeah.
I'm not lucky. You know, I don't have the time. I could never do that, right? And so what you believe, you get. And so we can evaluate our beliefs here. But that's why, like, you and I and the people that we surround ourselves with are successful, because we have a specific belief system. And, you know, like, we always find a way if we believe it.
No, 100%. That's the majority of it. It's all about mindset. And I talked about just before the show, one of my most favorite quotes that you have is, there's only one disability, and that's a bad mindset at the end of the day, which I love that quote. I constantly say it. And it's the truth. Most people, just a bad mindset. That's the only thing that's stopping them. It's their belief system. They can, even whether they're programmed as a kid with their parents and brothers, well, guess what? You can break that.
You could.
You can.
Yeah.
With that decision.
Yep.
Just like that.
Yep.
You make that decision. You decide, I'm going to reprogram myself. I deserve more. I'm owed more in life. This is the number one relationship.
Yeah.
And that's something you have figured out, my friend.
Yeah, for sure. Because I come from the world where we say, you know, business and life is 20% mechanics, 80% psychology.
Yeah.
You know, and you probably have experienced this with people that you bring on, is like, we can give everyone all the tactical strategies. Like, buying a house, like, it's the same strategy, right? Scaling is the same strategy. Like, when you understand business and your model, like, you just really up the ante. But, like, a lot of the times when you go into businesses or you go into teams, the biggest bottleneck is the CEO's psychology.
Yeah, there you go. No,
right?
100%.
Because if you were new, I can give you how to sell a house. I can say how to say this at the same exact time, and how to build rapport, and how to do this, and how to do the contracts. But psychologically, if you have talk or beliefs that are talking you out, you'll never follow through on the mechanics.
Yeah,
never.
No, 100%. Because learning that part of it, the skill sets and the steps and everything else, they're pretty easy at the end.
Once
of the
you get
day.
it.
Yeah, 100%. But that mindset right there, there's nobody that can teach you that.
Yeah.
You have to, it's a decision at the end of the day.
Yeah, and yeah, muscle conditioning. You know, for example, it's like when I started speaking, like, I spoke for free. Part of why I spoke for free is because that's what I thought it was worth.
What was your first gig that you got paid for?
Yeah. Oh, my first gig was in Tampa at a car dealership.
Yeah?
I still know him. He's a great guy.
That's awesome.
And he paid me $1,500, and we were like, "Oh my God, this is amazing!"
Was it for all the salespeople and like a
Yeah.
Okay.
And my message was, if I can do it, you can do it. I'm like way more established and tactical now. But yeah, that was the first like proof of concept.
Really?
And
how was the crowd? How'd they respond?
They loved it. Yeah.
I was in the car business for 9 years in Jersey.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I had a lot of fun, so I would have just ate that up.
Yeah.
Funny, because you had brought up Tony Robbins. That's when I was first introduced to him. One of my
really?
general managers is like, I have something.
Was it a
for
cassette?
You. It was a CD.
Yeah.
I guarantee there's people watching this are like, what's a CD?
Yeah. Or cassette.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was super cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, car dealership, with those kind of guys that are like sales, close. I'm sure it was a lot of fun with them over there in Tampa.
Yeah, I didn't even know what I was doing at the time, but now I should go back and over deliver because I know what I'm doing now.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I think that's the one thing that can set momentum. I say success rewards speed, and what I mean by that is like, when's the best next time to make a sale? After the first one. Creating that momentum. So oftentimes if you're listening right now and you're just starting off real estate, or you're just starting off a sales position or whatever it may be, you have to understand that you need to be persistent enough to get a great experience, meaning a yes. So for example, if you are a salesperson or you're trying to sell a house and the first person you go up to, they totally deny you and say no, oftentimes we then develop a belief around our experience that I'm not good at this. This isn't for me. I'm not a good salesperson. I can't influence people. The ones that succeed are the ones that are persistent enough to get their first yes. Do you remember your first ever sale? You were probably like, I can do it.
Funny story, while I was in the car business, I was almost fired after my first 2 weeks. And a guy pulled me aside where he had mentioned your first book. My first book was How to Close Every Sale by Joe Girard. And this finance guy's like, Johnny, good looking kid, you're kind of funny, everybody likes you, but dude, you suck. He said, you suck. Yeah. He goes, read this book, go home. I went home, I read it for an entire weekend, front and back. I came back and I went to number 2. Just like that. I listened to the book, everything in there. I changed my mindset. And I said, you know what? I'm going to start getting the yeses. And you had mentioned, as far as getting those yeses and getting those wins, best time to close his sales right after a sale. Yeah. I think where people have things messed up, I have this action plan for the realtors. So I say, stop thinking about the only win is to sell a house. Your wins are the little yeses that you get throughout the line. You accomplish a task. You accomplished an appointment. You had a successful call today. Check. You're telling your mind subconsciously, I won.
Yeah.
So when you go into it, your mind doesn't know. Subconsciously, it's the same effect as you have in a sale. So when you walk in and have that bad client, you don't care.
Yeah.
You go in so elevated, nobody can talk you down at the end of the day. I think that's where people mess things up, the sale after a sale. No, you're selling your entire day. You're selling the call, you're selling the meeting, you're selling your partner, you're selling yourself. These are all positive yeses.
I love that. Yeah. I think that's rare that you do that, because working with entrepreneurs, one of the biggest pattern is they will close 5 deals and their brain will go, well, I could have did 7. Or I made $500K, but it wasn't $1 million. And what they're doing is now their brain is robbing them from the happiness and the success and accolades that they already have.
Yeah, 100%.
Right? And so if y'all can, and constantly, like Johnny said, focus on the little wins and program your brain to celebrate things. Now you're wiring your brain to want to win more, but want to feel the emotions of winning. Because it's so easy, you and I could sit up here all day and be like, well, I didn't do this and I didn't do that and I could have closed that deal and I didn't, and we'd feel like shit. But instead we're like, what do we do right?
Yeah.
And there was something that I heard today that was interesting, is when people in your workplace, whether it's customers, clients, whoever it may be, relationship is acknowledge them when they do something right versus when they do something wrong. Because if you acknowledge them when they do something right, they're going to want to do more of that. Yeah. Right? Rather than they're thinking oh, they always point, I don't want to do anything wrong. They always point out what I do wrong. Acknowledge what they do right. Yeah.
Just one of my favorite books is the 5 Love Languages. Yeah. So they talk a lot about that in there. And it's a natural tendency when you're trying to train somebody, or even in relationships, it happens a lot. To where it's why do you do this? You shouldn't do this. just promote somebody for all the good things they do. And normally some of that stuff will correct. And I'll hold myself accountable. It's natural. You're in a relationship. Katie, love you to death. You know what I mean? Where I have to get better at it. She's probably like, take your own advice. I'll own it. Yeah, I'm accountable. But if we practice harder and do more of that, 100%, we will get more success out of it at the end of the day.
I love it.
You can't say it to other people or yourself at the end of the day.
Yeah.
We're the worst on ourselves. Like, oh, I did this. I screwed up. I did this. I mean, that's horrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible
Yeah, you
way
can't
to
build
live.
on failure.
Yeah,
Only
definitely.
success.
Yeah, definitely. So as you started going through the motions and being out there in Florida, at that point there when you're starting to speak on stage, was the bodybuilding in the back rearview mirror at that point?
Yeah, it was still there. It was.
And you're in great shape now. I mean,
yeah, it could be better.
I mean, all of us can. Don't be negative, man. Stop it.
You're right. When people use their techniques on me, right? But I think it was still there. It was a foundation, and I think that for those that are listening as well, is like fitness, or at least lifting or moving your body or investing in your health is extremely important, because I firmly believe like your foundation of your success is based on your confidence in your self-worth. Because, I always say you'll never make more than you think you're worth. And so, for example, if I only think I'm worth $1,000 speaker, I'm going to be a $1,000 speaker. Now, my thoughts are I'm worth $75,000 as a speaker, so I'm going to get $75,000 a speaker if I think I'm worth that. That's the same thing in sales. If you don't think you're worth the sale and getting that person to the close, it's not going to happen. If you don't think you're worth the relationship, you may get in one and then push them away and self-sabotage it. And so one thing that we can control that doesn't change is like our body and like going to the gym. Like, it's always going to be there, but it's also a good foundation to change your state, to invest in yourself, because I think you and I can look at entrepreneurs and say a lot of the times we get tunnel visioned on business and then we neglect our health, or we neglect our relationships, right? So I think fitness or lifting should be a core.
Yeah, no, 100%. I had this conversation with somebody earlier today. Most people that are staying fit and you're getting into business with them, it normally goes all the way through. Unfortunately, somebody that doesn't take care of themselves, it's normally both ends.
It shows up, right?
Yeah, there's exceptions to everything.
Yeah, for sure.
But for the majority out there, if they're just not like caring, whatever they eat, whatever they put in their body, it's just going to bleed into the rest of their lives at the end of the day. It definitely does. And me personally, it makes me feel good. If I don't get a workout in, I'm pretty miserable at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And I've been like this. I've been at better shape and chunky like last summer. Like a good friend of mine standing behind the camera is like, John, you're getting fat. But I needed it.
That's a good friend, yeah.
It is a good friend,
Yeah.
100%. Other people are like, man, what a jerk. I'll never speak to him again. But that was a good friend.
Yeah.
He was a good friend. He's like, and he got me in shape. Now I'm all sexy now.
I like it.
Yeah, it definitely whooped me around. But it definitely goes with it. So over in Florida, started that out. What is the experience like circling over here to Vegas? I know when you came over to Vegas, you had big dreams and you're accomplishing big goals. You're now coaching online and working with entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
But you planned that at the beginning of COVID and probably slapped you in the face.
Yeah. So I was on the road about 80% of the year, and we were just young dudes. And in my business model, my only revenue streams was speaking engagement fees and book sales. And so I didn't have any digital, I didn't have any courses or masterminds or any of that stuff. And we were like, well, we're traveling so much, let's move to Vegas because I won't have to travel as much. It's a hub. And we moved to Vegas in February, the beginning of February. And I remember like 2 weeks in, like everything got shut down. And I probably had like over, maybe 7 figures of deals gone. And we had payroll and we got to feed our people, right?
7 figures in deals just disappeared.
7 figures, gone.
Holy crap.
Yeah, gone.
What did that feel like? I'm sure.
Yeah, okay, so to be honest, at first it's like there is fear, right? Yeah. There's uncertainty, right? And the key is to not stay in the uncertainty, to be like, all right, what's next? Like, I got to move fast. And if you don't move fast, like, you're screwed.
If you're going to sit there and dwell on it, and
you're already going to miss the boat. And so we're like, all right, like, we got to get into this digital thing. And, for everyone that's listening, like, at first, when COVID hit, like, it probably messed up your business or you had to shift the way that you do things. But the truth is, now that you're looking at it and you went through it, it probably cultivated you and crafted you into a lot more, right? There was a lot of gifts, there was a lot of learnings, which is that's what you focus on, right? Is the gifts and learnings. And for me, COVID gave me a great gift and the company a great gift, because now I had time to stay home and like learn funnels and learn digital marketing and like actually dive into the content and have foundational knowledge, because I didn't know anything. And so now I've set up, right, I have one company which is solely the speaking, and then I have the other company which is the education, the masterminds, the retreats, the coaching. And I'm focused on the digital side of things because I don't want my business to rely on government.
Okay.
In the sense of like mandates, and if they shut down live events, I still want to be able to feed myself and feed my people.
And cruising and all the way through, and you're golden.
Yeah, exactly. So like you can ask yourself right now is like the way that I do business, one, is it recession proof, and two, is it like COVID proof? Is it pandemic proof? Right? Are you able to do it online?
There is a lot of industries out there that like timeshare that brought me here to Vegas for 6 years between both states. Everybody would say, they're like, oh, it's recession proof, you're golden. And even when I got into real estate, I was like, man, that was the easiest job I ever had. Light hours, vacations, great money. Sure enough, COVID kicked in. And when it did, it just bottom lined that industry. So it's good to think about things like that. There's plenty that you thought would be recession proof, but not COVID proof.
Not pandemic, when they shut down things.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, comedians, whatever it is, they're like, oh, I'll make people laugh forever.
Yeah.
Changed.
Yeah, I mean, there was like a story where there was two restaurants, and one was like a pretty big restaurant. It was popular, and COVID hit, and they shut everything down, right? And they didn't open up, and they lost money, and they maybe lost the business. And then over here was a small shop, and COVID hit, and instead they built like an outside tent with a drive-through and popped up things and got a bunch of business and actually like exploded. And so when it comes to whatever happens in your business, like if you move fast, like you can blow up. Like a lot of people that I know, because of COVID, their businesses exploded.
Yeah.
Even mine. Like I'm able to.
Feast or famine.
Yeah, right. Like I'm able to. I don't have to touch a live stage again if I don't want to, and that's freedom. I do. Yeah, live stages are way better. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. Live stages are way better, but knowing the peace of mind, if the government shuts down things or they block things, like I still get the impact and I still get to have freedom.
Yeah, one of the stages you just spoke on was the Thrive event, correct? Yeah. And how was that? How was that experience? Yeah,
Thrive was great. I actually spoke at the elevator night afterwards. I spoke at Thrive maybe like 3 years ago, and it's cool to see how far I've come with my speaking ability, but the stuff that I teach. So like I said, I would say for the majority of my career, maybe I've been speaking for 4 or 5 years. For the first like 3 years, I was just a professional storyteller. Like I was really good at telling my personal story and making a lot of money at it. Now it's all about the brain and neuroplasticity and how to unwire and rewire your brain and go into the subconscious mind. And so that has been the niche or the niche that I've took is like a brain expert.
And as far as on your coaching platform, do you feel that besides speaking on stage, do you feel it's more impactful in that intimate, I guess, video or Zoom or whatever?
Yeah, so like my inner circle is like, it's group coaching on Zoom. Okay. And the truth is that my inner circle gets to hear like all my shit, the ups and downs, what I'm currently going through.
You go deeper.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
And it's a family, so they get direct proximity to me, but I go deep, like diving into stories about my brother, overdosing, like just like what am I currently going through? Am I in a low? Am I in a high? Because I'm a human, right? And if I can share with my people like what I'm going through and how I'm going through it, like it relates. Oftentimes, like these coaches or speakers or people, like they project this perfect life, and no one relates to it, and you wonder why no one relates to you.
Real.
Yeah. So like I firmly believe with certainty, like I'm one of the most authentic, vulnerable, transparent speakers, because I told you before this, I was like, I'll go anywhere, right? Because I know that it may be my deepest, darkest thing of something that I went through, but it has someone on the other side is going to impact them, right?
Yeah,
and they're going to connect with me on a totally deeper level.
I mean, I always relate it back to movies. If you went to a movie and it was a great movie, and the guy's life, like this perfect kid grew up and he had a perfect school and a perfect wife, and they went to a perfect retirement home, you're like, all right, is this over? You'd be bored. No, every good movie or superhero movie, whatever you're into, they go through a struggle. There's a bad person. There's an evil person. They get screwed up on drugs. They're a drinker and they end up like this. And then they end up like this. And then they end up on top. So people, I believe, need to see all parts of it at the end of the day.
Yeah.
And that's where it becomes being relatable. So you're 100% right.
Yeah.
Everybody that, granted, social media, it is what it is. People want to see the flash and everything else. When you're spending some time with people, get real with people.
Yeah, yeah.
100%.
I agree. And there's a big difference between like, you know, an influencer and someone who impacts.
Yeah.
You know?
I like that. That's awesome.
And so even on my Instagram, like if you go to my Instagram, there's videos where I'm talking about like, I'm having a shitty day, you know? And this is how I snap out of it. And this is what I'm going through. I'm just like, I'm a human. You know?
Now, on your speaking platform online, when you're helping out entrepreneurs out there, are they bringing to you life challenges, what they want to complete, and saying, hey, you know what, Nick, I want to do this in the next 6 months. I want to take my business here. Are you going over tactics and strategies like that as well?
Yeah, so I stay in my lane of the psychology, and what I'll do is I'll bring in experts in different fields. So for example, with my inner circle, every week or every month, about once a month, I'll bring in like a multimillionaire wealth expert to teach my people wealth strategies. Like,
that's awesome.
That's not my lane, but let me bring in someone who's smarter and better than me.
Leverage
right?
people, yeah.
And so like I stay in my lane, and then I just find like who can serve my people, right? And then once a month, I'll bring in like a big kahuna. You know, for example, I had David Osborne, who's over $100 million net worth through real estate. I had him come in and talk about goal setting and time management. I've had one of Tony Robbins' top sales guys come in and talk about sales and influence and patterns of people, right? So like what I've realized is like I stay in my lane, which is brain and psychology, and then I find my people that complement and can help my people with whatever they need. But when it comes to entrepreneurs, specifically 6 and 7 figure entrepreneurs, is I'm just looking for patterns. Like everything's patterns. Like we have patterns that make us happy, patterns that make us sad, patterns that make us pissed off, patterns that make us successful. And so really like my first stage of coaching is like pattern recognition. Like what is not serving you? Let me put spotlight on it and let's strip power away from it. So I stay in my lane, and then I bring the big kahunas in the different areas to teach my people.
Nice. That's awesome.
Yeah.
I absolutely love that. It makes perfect sense. Rather than trying to be a jack of all trades and somebody brings you something like a cancer doctor and it's like, I'm having a heart thing go on. No, he's going to bring in the specialist for at the end of the day, and that's what you're doing. You're not trying to act like something you're not. So I think that's absolutely unbelievable.
Yeah, right. And that's one of the gold pieces that has helped my business skyrocket is not guessing and trying to create something that I think people need, but asking my people what they need. You know, so for example, and I'll give some thought joggers as well, but even in your business, like you can survey your clients or your team and see what else they need, and you may bring on a totally different branch or service in your company, like an umbrella company, like something else. So, you know, for example, it's like maybe you had a real estate mastermind or a real estate coaching group, but you also partnered up with a buddy that does taxes, you know, or bookkeeping or virtual assistant.
Which
right?
You need them.
Exactly, right? And you know what they need because you're asking them. So now it's because you're trying to look at like, what's the lifetime value of my customer? So even me, I ask myself, if people come in my mastermind for 12 weeks, what is my strategy to keep them after the 12 weeks? What do they need 6 months into their journey? What do they need a year into their journey? You know, I was just with a mentor who says, like, I have people that still buy something from me 15 years later because I know what they need at that point in the journey. And so, like, start thinking about that.
So you're asking the questions rather than other people will just throw up all over them. You need to do this. You need to do that. You know, whatever it might be, you know, build, whoever this person is, you know, what are the 3 things you want to accomplish this year? XXX.
Yeah, what resources, right?
Yeah, what's it going to take to get you there? Who do you have to meet, for example?
And like you said, like it's a doctor. You know, people come to me and, you know, what do you have? You have a headache? I'm going to give you this. You know, you hurt in the ear? I'm going to give you this, right? So that's how we kind of roll. And I'm going to stay in my lane of psychology and brain work.
And what's your big plan for the coaching going into the new year, 2022? What does that look like?
Yeah, so I'm growing my inner circle, which is my 6 and 7 figure entrepreneur group. I want to grow that, pour into those people, just over deliver. And I want raving fans. I want long lasting relationships. I don't want Johnny to come into my group for 12 weeks and never see me again. Like, I want to love on you for life. I want to serve you for life. And so I have my 6 and 7 figure group, and then I'll have my very high level one-on-one. I'll probably only take like 4 or 5 clients for a year on my one-on-one because it's a lot of time, and so that would be a very high ticket. And then right now what we're working on in December, which we're cultivating and crafting, is we're actually doing a 2-day virtual event, right? So to be a low ticket event, maybe the ticket's like $97 and you show up and I take you through a process for 2 full days. And then after the 2 full days, there'll be a high ticket offer that's a masterminds, a retreat, like quarterly retreats. Like I'm just making this awesome experience and bringing in high level people to serve them.
When are you doing the 2-day event?
I don't have a specific date, so I'm still cultivating it, but I'll let you know. We can push that. But yeah, so that's going to be really cool. And that's what I'm most excited about because it's my stage.
Very nice.
You know, it's my stage, it's my event.
You're running the show.
Yeah. And my goal is to build a raving fans and community. And like, if Nick wants to do his own event, I'd say, hey, I'm doing an event, and 500, 1,000 people, eventually 15,000 people show up, like Tony. You know, like Tony throws it. Tony doesn't need to go on anyone's stage. He's already did 45 years of serving and over delivering, and he just stays in his lane and stays in his zone. His people.
He's got to do his whistle around the corner.
Exactly.
Right?
And I'll be there too.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what it's about. Definitely is.
And I don't know if you ever heard the term like category king. You know, like category king is like, who's the category king? So for example, like Gary Vee, maybe a category king, Jay Shetty, Tony Robbins, me, Ed Milet, right? People ask me like, how do you become a category king? And the truth is like, you don't need to be massive. Like I know people who you don't even know that have raving fans that make a massive impact and massive money. So if you're trying to be a category king, focus on the person that's in front of you. Focus on the customers that are in front of you, over deliver. And that 2 will lead to 4. That 4 will lead to 5. Next thing you know, you have 1,000 people in your pocket, in your tribe that you served and over-delivered on, and they look at Johnny as the category king. Johnny doesn't need to have 1 million followers to be category king. He needs to be category king in his thing, in his pocket of people.
It's just more quality over quantity at the end of the day.
Yeah.
People forget about that constantly as far as just love up on who loves you. If you have 4 people over here that think you're amazing, forget about the 10 that are calling you a jerk for whatever reason. Just love up on these 4, and like you said, those 4 will turn into 8, and those 8 will be 16, and so on and so forth.
Next thing you know, it's a couple years, and you look back and you have masterminds, and you have retreats, or you have a community, a Facebook group of 1,000 people that love you and will buy and promote and serve and invest in anything that you create because you've given them so much value.
No, that definitely makes sense. I'd say for people to follow you, but I think everybody knows who you are. So let me ask you this. If they want to get involved in the coaching, the masterminds, know about the 2-day event, how would they receive information to get that info? Yeah,
the best thing would follow me on Instagram. That's Nick Santonastasso, but if you type in Nick Santo, I'm the only guy that looks like this. And then just follow me on Instagram, and I'll tell you what, if you follow me on Instagram, there will be a point, and I'm just shooting you straight, where you will be in my group because I give so much free value and I give so much amazing content to the point where you're like, what do I get when I pay for this guy? And that's just being honest.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we just sucker you by taking you to the spot. We lock you down for an hour or 2 and out the line.
You get your own coaching sessions.
There you go.
That's why y'all do it. You're like, hey, I want to go to the spa. They really want to pick my brain for an hour.
You're looking to move in the building? Oh, me too. Want to go to the spa? Oh, you eat? Yeah, come. Yeah. Definitely. No, absolutely. Jump on his Instagram. Amazing value. Just spending time with you here alone, getting to know you even more. Every time is such a gift, so I couldn't thank you enough.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, and be on the lookout for this guy's mastermind because I'm going to push him to create one because he's impacted a lot of people. He's going to leave a massive impact on this world, and we're going to get him to do some more things that are a little bit uncomfortable for him.
There you go. I like being uncomfortable.
Yeah, you got it.
Until next time, my friend. Thanks a lot for tuning in to Shake It Up with Sharks, everybody. Check out my main man, Nick, over here.
See you soon.
Shaking It Up with the Sharks. Starring Johnny Richardson and Katie Meadows.